I hate entertainment for the sake of it. I think it's a waste of budget. It's a waste of time. I don't like that at all. And ultimately, when it comes to being a performer, you're selling yourself all the time. Sales for me is quite a natural transition for somebody that's a performer. That has been the biggest learning curve of my career so far. I think I went quite naively thinking things would just be the same, run and work exactly the same way. That is not the case at all. And I do feel like the sentiment of the industry in the Middle East at the minute is very much like, we will rise again. Keep going, keep being ballsy, keep being scrappy, because those are the best traits that you've got. You're not always going to get all the things that you want. That's life. How the hell am I going to do this? I'm just pretending every day like I know what I'm doing. I don't have a clue. Just say yes, figure it out. You'll always figure it out. You'll always make it work. Big lesson that I've learned in my role is the difference between persistence and harassment. Because I really, really narrowly walked that line a lot, where it was like to the point where, am I going to get are the police going to come for me?
Hey, just before we jump into the show, got a little favour to ask you. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please make sure you are subscribed on the platform of your choice. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever platform that might be. The more people who subscribe and the more people who like and rate the show, the more we get better guests and the more we give you an opportunity to have some great takeaways. It doesn't take you too long and it would be a great help to us to help us grow the show. For now, that's it. Enjoy today's recording. Okay, thank you, Laura, for joining us today on the Business Takeaway podcast. For all our listeners, would you like to give a bit of an introduction to yourself, what you do now and how you got to where you are now?
Yes, I'd love to. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. My name is Laura. I am the Director of Creative Strategy at Popup Global. We are a creative partner and entertainment specialist, and we work across the UK, the UAE, and globally. I got here, I have had quite an interesting journey, actually. I was a singer, and that was my route into the industry. And then I transitioned into Popup and have grown within the company since then into the role that I am now. And that's a bit about me.
And what's your role entail on a day-to-day basis?
So my job is ultimately it's business development, but that makes it sound quite corporate and boring. Because when you get into the detail of what I do, it's not salesy in sort of the classic sense. My role is to help clients to basically create solutions to their problems through entertainment. So I like to base it all on strategy because I hate entertainment for the sake of it. I think it's a waste of budget. It's a waste of time. I don't like that at all. But the reason why we don't have business development in my title is because my role is actually really creative. So everything that we do is bespoke. So that means that every single client, whether it's a cruise ship, a venue, a theme park, an event, a brand, each client, we take into account the goal, the audience, the venue, the theming, their problem, and then create a specific entertainment program around that. And that's what I get to do for a job. So I've got a really fun job, actually. It's not business development as you would expect it to be, even though it is. It's super creative. So in one day, I can be having conversations with 5 or 6 different clients about completely different entertainment concepts. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm really lucky, actually, to do what I do. And I also love the sales bit, which not many people love to do, but I actually love that. So
Sales isn't as bad as it's made out to be, coming from that side.
No, I think a lot of people are scared of it. It sounds scarier than it is, I think. I think if you're a good talker, you're good at sales.
And you've come from a performing background, right? So when you were a singer and when you were performing and all that side and dancing, which you put on your LinkedIn, you tell people that story. How did you move to this side of the business? And then secondly, how did you find that transition from the world of being in front of the lights and on the stage doing all that to this side? How have you found that?
The thing is, when you're a performer, it's not just something that you decide at 18, you're going to go to uni and do it. It's a dream that you have from childhood. So it was something that I always wanted to do. And I had a goal to working towards that from the age of 6. So it was always my goal to do that. And I did it and I loved it. And basically how I ended up transitioning into the role that I am now, I was working on a ship and I met Amy, our CEO. She came on to visit the ship because she had a friend in my cast. She just set up the company, which at the time was a Princess Party company. And I met her briefly, but I thought, there's something about her and there's something about this business and I want in. And I was 23. So I was like, I didn't know what that looked like yet. But I was like, there's something, I can just sense it. So anyway, I then reached out to her. I was like, I really want to perform for you. Anything that you've got going, please let me in. So I ended up performing for Popup. She started to do more events and shows. So then I started to perform for it. And then as I was working I was then freelancing in the UK as a singer. I basically cornered her. We were in the car and I said, have you ever thought about getting a PA? She was like, no. Why? I was like, I think you need one and I think it should be me. And she was like, oh right, well no, I've not really thought about it. And then I just harassed her actually. Have you had any more thought about the PA thing? Like, I know it's been a while, but I really just want to continue that conversation, until eventually in the end she was like, all right, fine, do it. So I ended up coming in as a PA. I was still performing full time and doing that part time. And then she brought me in full time, but I still performed in my free time. So there's actually a number of years where I was doing both. I was a very busy schedule, but because I loved both. So I loved the job that I was doing. I wasn't the role that I am now then. I was, there was just the two of us. So we were all it was very much all hands on deck. The business was like steadily growing into more family entertainment venues, and we did a lot in retail. So, and I was performing for Popup as well in my weekends and my evenings. So it was, years of me doing both of them. Then COVID hit, which was an interesting experience for everybody. And to keep, at the time, then we were a bigger company, so there was more team members. We've moved to a new studio. We just won a cruise ship contract. But I was still doing a bit of performing on the side because I still had that like love for it. And then COVID hit and obviously everything stopped. But we ended up as a company doing quite a lot in COVID. We became like the go-to COVID safe entertainment company. We did the first drive-in festival, the first socially distanced festival, the first drive-in pantomime in the country. Like we ended up doing all of these things. And at that point I became like a full-time performer again. We did everything, like everything there was. But slowly after that, I just started to enjoy my job more than singing, which I never ever thought would happen. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said never. I'll never ever love anything more than singing. But slowly I did. And then I just transitioned slowly into no longer performing, saying goodbye to that and putting all my focus into my role at Popup. And I've never looked back. And I would say, to be honest, the transition for me was quite a natural one. It didn't, I feel like for a lot of performers, it is very much, you're a performer for as long as you can be, and then that ends, and then you've got to look for something else. And it can be quite a scary transition. But mine was quite a natural one. And I feel very lucky for that. I think I've been in a very privileged position as a performer to have the journey that I've had, because there's never been any sorrow for me in leaving performing behind, and it's never been scary. It's always just been quite natural to move in the direction that I have.
And do you go and see your shows or your events and sit there and go, oh, God damn, I wish I was on that stage still? Or do you just go, no, it's done, that's done,
I love to be the centre of attention. So there are still times when I'm like, oh God, I wish I was in that show. But that being said, the talent that works for us is so, so good that I'm like, I could never do this, because they're just unbelievable, the performers that work for us. There are times that I miss it, and there are times that do think, oh, I'd love to be on stage, but not enough to go into a rehearsal room for 2 weeks and do 8 hours a day rehearsing a show.
So I, in my previous life before I am now, where I'm now, I used to work a lot with a lot of drama schools and colleges and things on performing. Not me performing, I'd hasten to add, doing all the lighting and stuff for them. And one of the things that everyone on those courses are like, right, I want to be a professional dancer all the rest of my life, work in theatre and all this sort of thing. But actually very few of them, will have that career, and even few will continue to have a long career in it. So your transition into this world must be quite unusual, because I think most of the ones I've known have gone to be teachers or dance teachers or physio. Do you know what I mean? Work still in that field. So to move into sales is quite an unusual route, right?
Yes and no. So I feel like when you're a performer, it's very easy to just think about you and what you're doing, and you've got to learn your lines and you've got to learn the harmonies and the dance routine, and you can become very insular. Even though you're in a cast and you're in a show and you're working for a company, you're just thinking about you. And then what I think sometimes happens in the performance industry is once you decide you don't want to be on stage anymore, there's like obvious routes that people go down, like you just said. They become a dance teacher or a casting director. I think a lot of performers aim to do that, and quite like traditional post performer careers, because they've known other people that have done that. But actually, there's so much opportunity in our industry and outside of our industry, really, based on the skills that you have as a performer. I preach all the time, if you're going to hire someone, hire a performer, because there's nobody in this world that will adapt more than a performer. Because if they can get on stage when the quick change has gone wrong and somebody's just gone off sick last minute in the wing and they still make it work, a performer will do whatever you ask them to do, and they'll do it pretty well too. So yeah, I actually think there's loads more opportunity in the industry than you think. And ultimately, when it comes to being a performer, you're selling yourself all the time. You're going into an audition room and selling you as your art or you as yourself. And then you go in front of an audience, and the goal is for that audience to connect with you. And again, you're selling yourself to that audience. Really, I personally think, again, I've got experience in both. Sales for me is quite a natural transition for somebody that's a performer, because, I mean, this is cheesy what I'm about to say, but literally all the world's a stage, and I know that's true, but it's true. And that you go into rooms with different people and you adapt to, are they quite corporate? Are they, on the same wavelength as you? What is it that they want? And then I guess it becomes like a bit of not performance, because what I say is genuine, but you're adapting yourself a little bit in a performance style to speak to that person in the right way and make them hear what they need to hear in the right way. And I personally think it's a great career path for performers.
And from your side, when you were performing, what did you know about the business side of the performing arts industry? Did you know much about it, or has it been a journey to you to where you are now?
Absolutely nothing, not a thing. I have faked it till I made it the whole way, because I didn't have a clue. The jobs that I've had previously to this, do you know the only actually experience that I had, aside from like jobs that you had when you were at school and at uni and stuff, I went through a short phase when I was auditioning for cruise ships, and then after, when I came home from ships, where I worked as a temp. So like alongside performing, I worked as a temp in offices. So I would go to an office for a week because somebody was off sick, and just do whatever they needed me to do. That was my sell to Amy when I first wanted to work for Popup, because I was like, I've got all this experience in all these offices, and also not really doing anything to do with what I do now, but I just really leaned in, hammed that up as like amazing experience. But honestly, I knew nothing about this side of the industry apart from what I'd seen, but I hadn't seen much. But what I will say is, when I started working for Amy as a performer, I watched what she did all the time. I watched how she spoke to clients. I watched how she spoke to performers and interacted with people, and just learned fast. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I hold my hands up to that. But each of those mistakes has taught me something so valuable. And yeah, I guess got me into the position that I'm in today. And I'm still learning all the time as well. I'm still making some mistakes, not as many, luckily.
And do you think those mistakes came from, were they, I mean, you haven't mentioned what they are, but did they come from the not being on the business side before, or thinking of it still like a performer, or taking that wrong step at it, or what?
Lack of experience, I think, a lot of the time. One of the things that I will say that I've learned, a big lesson that I've learned in my role, is the difference between persistence and harassment. Because I really, really narrowly walked that line a lot, where it was like to the point where, am I going to get are the police going to come for me because I'm harassing this person so much because I want a call with them? And that's something that I learned the hard way. And I wouldn't say there was no like big drama about it with anybody, but that's something that, again, it just experience. I mean, I started working for this company when I was 24, which in my mind now feels really young. But I came like straight off stage into this with no past in this sort of world. So anyone that starts their career in anything that they do, it's a learning experience. And yeah, it's been an incredible learning experience all the way through, from, going through the different roles that I've done at Popup, different clients we've worked with, contracts that we've won and how that we've won them, moving over to the Middle East. Like, there's been so many learnings that have strengthened us as a business, but also strengthened me as a part of the business as well.
And you talk about clients for Popup, right? When a client comes to you to go, we want to get Popup involved, do they come with a detail brief? Do they come with a sketch pad where somebody goes, right, I've had an idea? Do they go, we don't know what, we just saw you do this event and we want you to be involved? What's the sort of usual, and how do you then take that and translate that? Because if you're not a creative person, having worked in the arts for 25 years, I can turn around, somebody goes, I want to create this effect, I can visualize what it will be. But if you're not that creative person, or you haven't worked on stage, you haven't performed, you haven't done all that, you might not have the creative vision to create that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really varied. We've got so many different clients and so many clients that have different ways of working. I would say it's just so split. So sometimes we get like through an RFP where it's all very procurement led and it's all a detailed brief and you're not allowed to speak to anybody, and it's very much just what's on the paper is what you get and you've just got to go for it. I don't love that version of it, because my favorite way of working, we've got some clients that will WhatsApp me and be like, I've got an idea. Have you got 10 minutes? And then we'll jump on a call and it'll be like, right, go with me. I've just had this thought and I think it would really work for X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. And then on that call, we go backwards and forwards. And it's like, by the end of it, we're like, this is it. And then we go in and put a proposal together for that. So it's so broad and wide. Sometimes people even come to us and it's not, formal through an RFP or anything like that, but it's like, we know we want to do something, but we don't know what it is. We've got no idea. This is the event that we're doing, and we know that there should be something, but we don't know what and we don't know why. Again, I also love that because it gives you free rein then. And there's also an element of trust, because then they're trusting you to be able to bring something to life that they don't even know what they want yet, but they don't know what they want until they've got it, and then you have the opportunity to give it to them. And I like that as well.
So you talk about the Middle East as well. What is the culture of events out there? And there's going to be different culture between Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar. There's all going to be different. And how do you have to adapt that to what's in the Western world we would see pops as appropriate, and over in Dubai or whatever it isn't? How do you work in that environment?
I would say, so we've been in the Middle East for almost 3 years. That has been the biggest learning curve of my career so far. I think I went quite naively thinking things would just be the same. We've been doing this for a long time in the UK. I just expected businesses to run and work exactly the same way. That is not the case at all. It's a completely different process working with clients in the Middle East than it is to the UK. Some ways amazingly, some ways blown my mind. But yeah, it is vastly different. I'd say our main focus in the Middle East has been the UAE. So our main focus market-wise, whilst we moved out there, has been focusing on that area. So I can't speak for all of them. We have been doing work in Qatar. We have done some work in Saudi, but I'll predominantly speak about the UAE. I would say it's quite heavily process driven in terms of RFP tenders and briefs. The way that we used to working in the UK is very relationship based, and whilst it's still very much relationship based in the UAE, once you have that relationship, it runs through quite a corporate funnel of boxes to tick to get from A to B. But what I will say about the Middle East is that the opportunity, but also the ideas and the want to do, like, we want to do this thing that no one's done before, and we have this crazy idea and we're going to do it for the opening of an envelope. Like, it's wild how much entertainment there is and how many events there are, and the type of people that you work with. And we work with people just in the UAE from literally all around the world. It's so multicultural and diverse when it comes to the people that you're literally working with on site, or, you know, the performers we work with, or the technicians, or the clients. It's really varied. So yeah, there's a lot of differences. I'm still learning all the time as well. I think, especially with everything that's going on in the region at the moment, this has been like a very challenging time for the events industry and the entertainment industry, hospitality, tourism as a whole. And I think there's going to be a lot more learnings to come in the next couple of months because of the current situation. But yeah, I would describe generally, it's very interesting comparing working across the two different regions. It's different every day, and the comparisons are just always so far apart. It's wild.
And culturally, though, do you have to find yourself switching between between different people you're talking to? Right, you have to bear in mind the nationals, the expats, the Brits, and you have to work in a different way. And I find that quite tiring. And I only go down for a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, and come back again. But working down there, it must be a constant daily challenge or struggle.
Yeah, but I actually love that about it. I love how diverse it is, and how you can be having, especially in the Middle East, you can be having one conversation that's with a government entity for an event that's government, and it has to be really culturally led and quite traditional. And then on the flip side, you're having a conversation with a theme park about some wild, you know, out of this world Christmas extravaganza that they want to do that no one's done in the region before. Like, I like how different it is. That's the main thing that I like about my job, how different every project is, every conversation is. So that part of it, actually, for me, sometimes it is challenging, but mostly I found it's quite like a bonus of what we do. I love how different the experiences are and the clients are that we work with.
You talk about sort of challenges and things, obviously leaving aside what is going on politically, geopolitically. What are you seeing the challenges in live events now? Is it the expectation of people with budgets, you know, going, right, we want this and we've actually only got 5p to do it with? Or is it technology isn't catching up? Or what's the biggest things you're finding or being asked for?
Yeah, I would say the budget versus expectation challenge is very real and is very much there. I also think it depends who you're speaking to. So, like I said before, you're working with so many different people across so many different sectors, and sometimes you'll be speaking directly to the events manager who gets it. They know, you know, they've worked in events for a long time. They understand, like, oh, this sort of thing costs X amount of money. But then sometimes you could be speaking to somebody who's never done an event before and has no experience in it, which is fine. But then it becomes, oh, well, I've got £4 and I want something that is wow, that no one's ever seen before. And then you, as a supplier and partner, we have to then be like realistic with them in, you know, with your fiver, you can get this. But if you wanted to get what you're asking for, it'll cost this amount of money. Sometimes clients are like, great, let's go for it. Sometimes the clients are like, absolutely not, we just want to spend the £4. And it all just depends. It depends on how much they value entertainment as a offering for what it is that they're doing. But yeah, I would say that's a big challenge. I guess an ongoing challenge that I always have generally, and this isn't just the Middle East, this is across the board. Sometimes it can be difficult for people to understand the value in live entertainment as a commodity. It's very difficult to quantify. It's not like, you've got this pen that's X amount of money, or this pen that's X amount of money, so we'll go for this one because it's a better return on investment. It sometimes can be really difficult outside of ticket sales, if it's a ticketed event, to see the value in the ROI of it. But that's one of the things that I focus on. Like I said, it's all about entertainment with strategy and what value you can get from it. If you invest, will it help footfall? Will it help dwell time? Will it help brand loyalty? Will it bring people through the door? Like what that's going to look like for people. But yeah, I'd say that is a challenge, but it's also a challenge that I quite like taking on.
And that's, you just said some words there that are quite unusual from coming from the arts world, right? There's the arts world, and people will go and see shows, go and see the West End, go to Broadway, whatever, go and see Wicked, go name whatever show they want to go and see and have a good time. You just use the sort of like brand loyalty, dwell times, very, I'd say, corporate words. Great, yeah. That's fine. And how do you think that, the use of arts and performance is helping brands? How do you sell it to a brand and go, right, this is going to help your brand equity by having some performers? How's that going to work?
It all depends on what the client is, what their goal is, and what we then create to achieve that goal. But a lot of the time, the thing is with entertainment, I like to use this little spiel. Entertainment creates emotion creates a memory, and memory is what brings people back. So really, if you follow that, it should be quite simple in people understanding what can be achieved from it. But then obviously that varies depending on who the client is. So for example, is it a event for a brand that's a private event that they're hosting for their VIP clients, and they're going to invite them and they want some sort of entertainment that's just going to celebrate the brand story, make people have a great night and go away and be like, this was an incredible night by this brand? Or is it in a theme park and it's summer and you're in the Middle East and there's not going to be many people in the region because everybody travels? So how are we going to get our people to come through the door of this venue instead of going into a mall or instead of going somewhere else? What's going to bring them in? And then you create the entertainment that will achieve that for whatever audience it is that their goal is. Or is it a mall? And is that mall wanting to do a fashion campaign that's going to upsell 3 of the brands that are in the mall that are paying the leasing fees and need some sales and need some help from that mall because they're paying them to help them, and they want upsells with their brand? What can you do for them, and what would the entertainment look like for that? So, and the thing is, we've done this for a long time, so we've got a lot of experience across all of these markets and understanding what works and what doesn't, not only historically, but what's trending, what's current, what are people loving on TikTok? What do I love on TikTok? Like, what's my dad watching on YouTube? Like, it's all of these things, like staying ahead of the curve when it comes to what people are currently wanting and enjoying, but also from experience, what we know will achieve whatever goal it is that they want.
And what are the trends on TikTok and YouTube at the moment? What are you being asked for the most?
It depends on your algorithm. I feel like one of the things that we're getting a lot of at the minute is performance-led campaigns. So I don't know if you've seen, are you on TikTok?
I just started.
Oh, it's going to ruin your life, but also make your life so much better. But just before Christmas, Cat's Eye, the K-pop band, did a collaboration with Gap and the whole ad was dance-based. Cat's Eye is all about the band, the amazing dance routines. It's a full choreographed advert with them doing the dance routine, full of dancers, but advertising the jeans. It went so viral, so fast. It was all I saw on my algorithm on all of my social media for weeks. So we're taking that concept, using entertainment as brand messaging, content creation. That's kind of what we're seeing at the minute, because Skims are doing it, Levi's are doing it, a lot of brands are doing it. So yeah, that's one of the trends we're seeing at the moment.
You talk about technology and things like that. We're in the world of AI, that I could sit at my phone or my computer and in 10 minutes build a video or build something, right? Are you facing the challenges between brands going, well, I can do that digitally, don't need to worry about that? Or are they still wanting that sense of live performance that can't be matched? That live environment cannot be matched in any way, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you will have a client that says, "Oh, we were gonna do an opening ceremony, but we're just gonna do a video instead." I always roll my eyes and I think, oh, I can't think of anything more boring than just watching a video for an opening ceremony. But fine. But I feel like post-COVID, now we're going back a while here, but go with me. We all sat at home watching Netflix. Everyone completed Netflix. I did about 800 jigsaws. We read 300 books. I repainted my entire apartment. Like, we all just sat at home on our own with limited connection. And I feel like personally what we've experienced is, since then, there's actually been a real appetite for experience. And that trend shows in so many different ways across like new theme parks that are opening around the world. Netflix House, which is like an immersive Netflix experience where people physically go in person and walk through all of these TV shows that they love. Like, people crave experience. And I actually think it's the opposite. I don't think live entertainment is really necessarily going to be lost to AI, because it's that emotional connection that I was talking about earlier that people love, and it never gets old. It never, ever. Like, you will be able to sit and tell me now a moment that's been entertainment based live in front of you that you can remember that really made you go, oh my God, that was such a special moment. And it will have been somebody doing some sort of live entertainment. And I have them. I've got so many in my life where I've been like, God, that was a magical moment. Watching The Lion King for the first time in London, not knowing what's going to happen. And then all the animals come down the aisle. It gives me shivers thinking about just how that made me feel in that moment. All the way to small things like once walking through London, hearing the most incredible singer on the street just busking, normal guy busking, but the most incredible voice. And you remember those moments. You don't get that from, AI and things like that. Don't get me wrong, AI can help. We all, like, I am a big fan of ChatGPT and Claude. They've changed my life. But yeah, I don't think it's going to necessarily replace live entertainment, only enhance it.
No, you talk about special moments. I think the two for me was seeing Starlight Express when I was a kid, the original Starlight, where they skated around the auditorium. And I was sat in the circle, and the kid, they went past like so quick, and it was just like, I was a kid, I was 9, I was 10. It's like, wow, what all this? I put that show for a lot of reasons, and then seeing Wicked end of Act 1. When I won't spoil it for anyone who's not seen Wicked, but the end of Act 1 still gives me that shivers on the back of the neck.
Going to see Wicked changed my life. Okay. It was when I went to go and watch it, and I was like, I'm gonna be a singer. 100%. I knew it already, but this has made me go 100%. I'm going to do that. And you know what's really funny? I have so many memories that are like entertainment based, obviously because I loved it and it was my passion. But the first show my parents took me to watch was West Side Story when I was 8. And I can't tell you how traumatizing that was as an 8-year-old, because I thought that it was real. And if you've watched it, you'll know that it's quite traumatizing for adults, never mind children. I was the only child in the audience. It was harrowing, but also a great memory now that I look back.
I've done West Side Stories where you've seen the audience crying and all this sort of thing. So yeah, I can't imagine being a kid in that. But you talk about technology. How are you finding technology is coming into what you are doing as a company, and are you being asked to interact with that and get that more involved in the shows? because the technology is there to help you, right? So
Yeah, I would say so. I think a lot of the time we partner with really great companies on that side of things, but we are finding that people are wanting an element of live with some sort of technical integration, whether that's immersive screen content or, you know, projection and things like that. But with us, it's always with a live entertainment layer. But I would say those conversations 5, 6 years ago, no one really cared. No one was really talking about that side of it when we were pitching entertainment, but now it is a conversation that people bring into a lot of conversation, like how can we integrate technology? How can we, bring something new that people haven't seen before with the live element? So yeah, I'd say that's definitely different to when I first started out anyway. It wasn't really a conversation we were having with people. It was just, oh yeah, we'll sort the lights, we'll make sure the sound's good. That's it.
move on. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you talk about trends that you're seeing in the industry now, of like the K-pop and how that's involved. What do you get when somebody sends you an email? Do you go, oh, not that one again? Do you know what I mean? If 15th time you've been asked for the same thing, or is that not really a thing anymore?
No, because I feel like everything we do is so varied. We don't really like get asked for specifics. What I will say is we occasionally, when I first started working at Popup, we had a girl band called Diva Mix, which was a Little Mix tribute. So I'm talking like 8, 9 years ago, I was in it. And occasionally out of the blue, we will just get a Diva Mix inquiry that really throws us off kilter. Like, where have they found this on the internet? I don't even know where this has come from. But no, I think because of our approach and, as you know, we do post a lot on LinkedIn and we do, like to talk about what we do. And because of that, I think people now have a really good understanding of our approach and what it is. There was a few years there where Greatest Showman was pretty much what we were doing every single week. That was really popular. Anything that theme. But no, I think people are being quite creative at the moment. It's fun to be part of.
And how many events does Pop-Up do a week, a day? How many have you got on the go? Because these sorts of events, you can be an hour. You could be providing some dancers to this, or you could have a permanent sort of on a cruise ship for a month or whatever. It must be quite a lot every day, right?
Exactly. It varies. What I will say is we are a small company, and with that, we are quite specific on the contracts and projects that we choose to work on. We don't want to be a giant. We love the team that we work with. We have a great time doing what we do. And we're also really passionate about being able to provide a specific standard of entertainment and being creative. So there is a lot that we say no to because we also really like to sort of integrate ourselves with our clients and really get involved with their team, with the delivery of it. If you speak to me on a call, I it's not just dropped, then you'll never see me again. We all, we're involved in the process from start to finish. But it varies on the time of year. Festive and Q4 for us is our craziest time. So we have a lot of projects that happen over a 6-week period where we'll have teams of 40 every day for 6 weeks, multiple teams globally. On top of that, we have cruise ships that they're running every single day. And then add on to that, a lot of one-off events, a lot of special events with big casts and big teams. So you're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of performers working for us throughout December alone. That's always our craziest time. And then it takes us 3 to 4 months emotionally, mentally, physically to recover, especially the delivery team. They work incredibly hard in Q3 and Q4. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on, especially at that time of year. It can be wild.
And how, when you're a performer, you're constantly doing class, you're constantly watching what you're eating, you're constantly staying on top of your fitness and things. How do you, now you transition to the business side, do you still sort of try and keep all those things going to stay mentally fit, physically fit during that time? Because if you're doing show after show after show, you've got to be, phone call 11 o'clock at night, phone call 9 o'clock in the morning, meeting customers. That's an intensive schedule. And around Christmas.
It is. Yeah, I would say it's difficult to keep your normal routine when things are busy. Something has to give. And whether that's a nice walk and a coffee that you like to do in the morning before work, or hitting the gym at 7 p.m. after work, or whatever that looks like for each of us. Sometimes you have to sacrifice those things to get the job done. But I feel like we're a really supportive team. We really care about each other's health and well-being in general. We're all friends. So if somebody's, Dan, who I work with in particular, he won't mind me saying this, he can get like intense work, heavy. He's so into it, and it can be, December and he hasn't stopped for weeks. And we have to be like, Dan, take a breath, take a minute, to, get him back on track. To be honest, I have it easiest. I can't lie. I have it easiest compared to the rest of the team because I don't lead on the delivery side of things. I help out where I can, and whenever I'm asked, but it's not the wildest time for me. It's the rest of the team, and I've just watched them in that, especially at that period of time, and it's just mental and crazy. And the pride, and they do it all with whilst having the best time. And I'm like, how are you still going? You're running on empty, but it's still always great vibes. So sometimes something's got to give, and then sometimes you need somebody else to go eat a vegetable, drink 3 liters of water today, and go for a walk. Close your laptop and go for a walk, because sometimes you need it.
I still do commercial punter every year, and
I love that,
which is great. So I still like them, and you work with people who are on production week 3, and they're sort of they haven't seen daylight because it's dark. Obviously, when they go to the theatre and come out to the theatre, they've eaten only McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and maybe a Subway. And by the end of the week 3, they're literally, I can't work for a month. I've got to stop.
No,
it's intense.
No.
Those creative periods are really intensive.
And even just generally being a performer, even if it's a one-off event in April or whenever it is, it can be really, really intense. And I think everyone at Popup's an ex-performer. So we've been there and we know what it feels like. And it can be really, really hard and grueling. And we basically wanted to create an environment that, yes, it is sometimes going to be hard work. Yes, you might sometimes be working, really long hours, and you've got a contract that's 5 weeks and it's you pushing through. But we really look out for people, and we've made it a point to look after people because we've all been in positions where we haven't been looked after at all. And it's the worst. It doesn't need to be, the industry doesn't need to be like that. Ultimately, you're going to be a performer because you love what you do and you're really passionate about it. And some companies can take that joy away just by being unkind. So we go out, we just be ourselves. We just be normal, nice people. But I think we also go out of our way to really look out for our performers because, it is tough. It can be a really tough industry, and it can be really tough on contracts.
And for those who, we've got people who are listening from all different walks of life, right? What would a sort of rehearsal period, and how would that work for putting a show? We're doing a one-night gala thing at an event in Dubai, let's just say. What would that creative process be for a dancer to come in? How long would you contract them for? How long would they be involved in rehearsals and things like that?
So with a one-off, it depends on how long the actual performance times are, but say it's a 5-day rehearsal period. So once we have that signed off, we'll then either do a casting day or a online casting. We have a lot of performers that have worked for us for a long time, so we have a really great pool of talent that we kind of, this person would be great for this and we'd love to have them back, and these two work really well together. So then we bring them in, and then they get briefed and to get sent all the information and everything that they need, and then they come into rehearsals. We have the best rehearsal time in rehearsals ever. We get the best feedback because everyone genuinely has a great time. But the rehearsals might be 4 days, 5 days, where they'll be with us 6-8 hours a day, learning the choreography, learning the music, the harmonies, doing staging, costume fittings, and then they'll go through that process in the studio, wherever that is, and then we have a day where we put it in on site. So we'll bring everyone together. We'll either meet the technical team if they've been brought in by a supplier, or there'll be our technical team that have come in, and we do all the staging, make sure all the performers know where they're going and that they can get from A to B and that the lights are right and all of that. And then it's showtime. So then we go straight into the big performance. So it can really vary. Sometimes it's people are with us for our cruise contracts. They can be in rehearsals with us for 8 weeks. It all depends on the amount of content there is to learn.
And how, at the moment in time, what's keeping Laura up at night of worry when you're in these events? Is it that something out of your control that we're seeing at the moment in the Middle East is a thing, or is it actually are we not going to deliver on time? There's going to be problems at the venue. What's the usual things that you say you have it the easiest? I'll take your word for that. But what are you seeing as the stress points of these things?
I'm laughing now because I used to be on delivery, so that was my job. I was delivery and I used to do sales when it came to anything outside of cruise lines, and I would literally not sleep for weeks because Dan, who's our delivery operations director, is the most organized person I've ever met in my life. I used to think I was organized until I met him, and it would be the smallest things for me. Like I would be on the cusp of sleep, about to fall asleep, and then I'd be like, I don't have Santa's glasses, and then I'd just be awake then and not be able to sleep because I wouldn't know where the glasses are. Or a performer would message me at 11 p.m. and be like, can't come in tomorrow. And they start at 9 a.m. and I'm like, what am I going to do? So there was a lot of that. And there's always that when it comes to live entertainment, because it's, the show's live, anything can happen.
Yeah.
What's keeping me awake at night at the moment? I mean, the current situation, obviously, there's so much uncertainty. And with my role is to bring business into the company, to, plan the year ahead, make sure that we're doing what we need to do and achieving what we need to achieve within that year. Obviously, the situation as it currently stands has put pause to pretty much everything that is happening in the Middle East. Everything's on hold. So it's really uncertain times for a lot of people not even just our industry, but a lot of industries. So that's challenging. But I think what I have found helpful in this situation, I do feel like we're very lucky, is that we're a global company. So we do work outside the Middle East. So rather than it being something that's, when COVID hit, I felt so defeated initially because I was like, what are we going to do? There's nowhere we can go. There's nothing we can do. There's no country to escape to and do X, Y, and Z. It's just everything's on hold. And it was like I fell into a bit of a despair, to be honest, at the beginning of COVID for the first couple of months, because I was just like, our industry's over forever. Like, what are we going to do? I think that was a learning curve because it wasn't over. Everything comes back around, and it might be really, sorry to swear, shit for a while, but it will come back because everything always does. But I also think we learned from that how important it is to be diverse and adapt, and and we adapted so hard and so fast during COVID, which is we ended up coming out of COVID actually a bigger company than we were when we started, which was crazy. And that taught us to be agile, to adapt, and to have a diverse business so that when shit hits the fan, which so often it does in various different ways, and something unpredictable happens, at least you can, adapt in some way. And I think for us, it's just, yes, things are less than ideal in the Middle East at the moment. I have absolute faith that it will come back around. When that will be, I don't know. Nobody knows. But I really do believe that the Middle East will just build itself back up again and scream and shout it from the rooftops when things are, hopefully back to normal. But we're also in a position where we've got, clients in various different regions in different countries. So for me, as much as it is, what's going to happen in the Middle East and when's it going to be over, and it's difficult, I also have, other areas of focus which does help me to sleep at night, because anyone that knows me knows that if I'm worrying about something, the first thing that goes is my sleep. So I'm grateful for that.
I found myself in COVID, like waking up at 3:00 in the morning for no apparent reason. Just, because I was seeing our business in the entertainment business disappear, right? It's a terrifying thing. But I think I was interviewed somebody else who was on a pod, a few weeks back, and she was saying actually she works with students and next generation people, and she said the people who was at school during COVID were some of the most resilient people because they had to adapt and change. And I think working in the entertainment industry, we all had to adapt and work out what we do now and how is it all going to change. And I think we've come out, as you said, stronger because of that than we were going in, and more foundations for businesses. I think it's a much better way of looking.
100%. And I do feel like the sentiment of the industry in the Middle East at the minute is very much like, we will rise again. There's nobody that's, doubting that things will come back around. And that's quite nice because everyone went through COVID and everyone has been there. And, that was the worst of times because it wasn't just the region, it was everywhere. So yeah, there is like quite a nice communal feeling of, we will get through it and there will be another side to it eventually, whenever that is.
If you could look at Laura in the mirror 10 years ago, what would you be saying to her now with what you've learned?
When I was 22, I just got my first cruise contract and I turned 22 in rehearsals. And literally after I turned 22, I went on a cruise for a year. And I remember being so overwhelmed and like just didn't believe in myself at all. Like half of my team had worked on loads of contracts and they knew some of the shows and they just knew what they were doing. And I just remember being in those rehearsals being like, how the hell am I going to do this? Like, I'm just pretending every day like I know what I'm doing. I don't have a clue. They're putting me in dance routines that I could not do because I'm not a trained dancer and all of this stuff. And I was just like, there's never going to be a time where I can do this, ever. But obviously there always is. And gets to the point where you're like, I can't, even within 3 months, I was like, I can't believe how drama I was being. And now when I look back, I just think every decision that I made along the way has got me here. And every decision that I make from now on will continue to help me grow. And if I could go back to 10 years ago, I would just say to myself, keep going, keep being ballsy, keep being scrappy, because those are the best traits that you've got. The scrappiness, I think, is one of the things that genuinely has led to, I mean, I'd like to think it's success. That success is different to everybody, but to led me to where I am today and the successes that I've achieved. And yeah, I would just be like, keep going, girl. You're on the right path.
And do you think that scrappiness is because the entertainment industry is so competitive? How many people go for an audition and you've got to fight, you've really got to fight for that. And do you think that's something you've learned because you're performing side that you've translated to where you are in business now?
I think so. I think as a performer, you have to be resilient. And if you're not, the industry's not for you. Because for every 10 no's, you get one yes. And it's tough. Like, you have to have really thick skin. And I would actually say, in the role that I do now, the no's, that at first, it's like, oh, but I really wanted that so much. And now I'm like, right, whatever, next. Because that's just the nature of what we do. And that's the nature of life. Like, you're not always going to get all the things that you want. That's life. And I think if you can, as a performer, if you can really just have that thick skin and be like, do you know what, I really wanted that contract, but I didn't get it, next audition, and you can handle that, because it's tough, especially as a performer. It feels personal because it is pretty personal. If you've got that thick skin, that only bodes well for any job that you have, but especially in sales.
Yeah, and that fear of rejection is hard in sales because you can pitch the best product, but it doesn't fit what the customer wants. But it's the same as being a dancer. It might be they wanted all short, under 5 foot dancers, for example, and you just don't fit. You might be the best dancer, but you just don't fit the picture. It's the same as sales. I
think what's important is it's not personal. None of it's personal. It can be situational. Sometimes it can be because you messed up. It is what it is. Sometimes it can be because somebody else was better And that's fine. Like, all of those things are fine. Not everything is always going to be meant for you. But yeah, I think resilience is such a skill because not everybody has it. And that's why, going back to the beginning where I'm like, everyone should employ performers. Nobody is more resilient than a performer. No one, because they picked themselves up on a megabus from London back to the northwest of England at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night after an audition where they went in and they were told no within 5 minutes, and then they just sat and waited for the bus home and ate an M&S sandwich in the back seat of it with a full face of makeup on and a fake eyelash. That's resilience, because then they've got back and they've gone straight back on that megabus the week after and gone back to an audition.
The podcast is called the Business Takeaway Podcast. What sort of would you take as your, you talked about resilience, you've talked about that sort of side. Would that be the one thing, if somebody said to me, Laura, give me one tip for business that you've learned in the last 10 years since you've been this side, or 8 years, however long you've been on this side of it, what would you be that one tip that you would give to somebody?
Say yes and figure it out later. I think that, especially at the beginning of Popup and the beginning of my journey in this world, just say yes, figure it out. You'll always figure it out. You'll always make it work. You'll bring in the people that you need to bring in to make it work. You'll work with people that are better than you at different things so that you can make it work, but always say yes to a great opportunity. But with a caveat, if something doesn't feel right in your gut, it just doesn't sit right with you, you're not aligned, the values aren't the same, say no matter how big the zeros are. Say no to it, because all it will do is send you 10 steps back.
And are there cases you've said yes to something which you then look back on hindsight and go, God, I wish I hadn't said yes to that? Because that sounded as though it came from the heart. That sounded like a statement you felt like.
Yeah, and do you know what? Yes, a few times. I would say majority of the things that we said yes to have been, even if it wasn't really what we are going for or where we want to be, majority of what we said yes to has got us to where we are. But we are very good at saying no. So we've got down the line of contracts where we've been offered it, multi-million pound contracts we've been offered, and then we thought, oh no, we can't do it. It doesn't feel right. It's not right for us. And it's ballsy to be able to do that. And that decision isn't just me, it's Amy, who's our CEO. Her gut and intuition is like nothing I've ever experienced before. She has these like gut feelings that they're always right, and they're always like the right decision to make. But it's like now we're at a point where everything's a team conversation. So if one of us is like, I just don't feel right about this, and it's like, okay, what is it that doesn't feel right? They're like, okay, yeah, fine, we agree, let's not do it. And I think that's important as well, listening to every member of the team, because everyone has some sort of touch point with a client and on an event, whether it's being on site or whether it's doing the contracts or whether it's, helping the performers on site or whatever. But yeah, I think there's so much value for a business in saying no, but also saying yes. I've been so contradictory in that point, but I hope the point came through with what I actually meant by it.
Absolutely, because say yes and figure it out. But I get the smell factor, as I call it. Does it pass the whiff test? Pardon the expression. Mm-hmm. Because you sort of turn around and you go into some of these things and you go, something. You just get, as you said, the gut. There's some things don't smell right. Things just don't quite align, and you go, should I be involved or should I not? And it's an important thing. But I think some
things just don't feel good, and if they don't feel good, you're not going to enjoy doing it. You're not going to do your best work. And I think it's really important to listen to that on all the different levels, not just, CEO. It should filter down to if somebody in the team is like, I really don't want to do this job. Okay, let's discuss. Because obviously we don't want to put somebody in that position. We all look at it. We do work with some amazing clients. So we have said no to a lot, but we do work with some great people. So we don't often have to say no. Sometimes we do.
And that's a great place to be. So we come to the end of the questions. We end all podcasts with some rapid fire questions. They sometimes turn into discussion point anyway. So they're not tricky. They're not tricky. But let's go. Are you an Apple or an Android person?
Apple, 100%.
X, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and I have to now say TikTok because people are criticizing I don't put TikTok in that list. Which is your platform of choice?
For work? Or in general?
When you when Laura wakes up in the morning, what's the first platform Laura goes to?
Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay. Beach or city break?
Beach.
Would you rather live in the town or the country?
Oh, it depends where you live in. Because right now I live in the city, but I would, if I lived in the UK, it would be the country.
Okay, that's allowed. First class or save the money? Travel first class or save the money?
I couldn't tell you because I never travelled first class. I'd love to, but no, if you can, you would. First class.
Are you a morning or night person? I guess the answer will probably be quite predictable with being a performer or background. But...
No, morning. Do you think it would be evening?
Night. Yeah.
No, in morning. I would much rather be in my pajamas and in bed by 9:30, 10 p.m.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Exercise, is it important or not?
Yes, 100%. Because I think for your mind, whether it's a walk or gym or whatever, I think it's good for the mind and soul.
Innovate or improve?
I actually think improve, because I think sometimes people think to throw something new at something because they think it will fix things and make things better. But actually, if you just fix something and improve it, you're ticking all the boxes you need to tick anyway.
Interesting answer, that one. Challenge the status quo or not to challenge?
A mix, because I think sometimes you don't need to completely break the wheel. You just need to, like you said before, improve it slightly. I think it's always important if you have something valuable to say and you feel like your voice is a voice of reason and comes from experience, you should always speak up. But I also am not a believer in, sometimes the classics work, so sometimes you don't have to do something that's never been seen before and that's absolutely wild. Sometimes people just love tradition. So I'm really slap bang in the middle of that one.
That's fine. And if I'm at a bar, what is the drink of your choice? Rosé.
Basic, I know, or any wine really. Depends again what time of year. Winter, red wine. Summer, rosé.
Nice. Laura, it's been fantastic talking. Really interesting perspective of where you've been and how you've got to. So thank you very much for joining us today. And
thank you for having me.
Maybe in Saudi Arabia in 6 months' time, I'll catch up with you again in person.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
A great conversation there with Laura, and thank you very much for her to give up her time, especially at this difficult time in the world with everything that's going on. Just a little reminder, if you've enjoyed listening to today's episode, to make sure that you're subscribed. And if you have enjoyed today's episode, please do give us a positive rating and leave a little comment on the platform of your choice. We've got more great guests coming up in the next few weeks, so please do stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.